Hello and welcome to the Lady Stairs Knits podcast. My name is Sarah and I have been making this podcast for a few months now, and I'm really excited to make another episode because I've got lots of stuff to show you. It's been about a month since I last made a video, and that's because I've had a really busy time. We moved house, which was pretty stressful but also kind of fun, and now we've been settling into the new house for just under a week, and I spent some of yesterday putting my yarn away and organizing it in my bookshelves, and I'm excited to show you everything that I've been making. So let's get into my finished objects. First, I have the Dear Björn socks that I've been making for my dad. Here they are. They're finally done. You might notice that they look a little bit different from other Dear Björn socks that you might have seen. I chose to do 1x1 striping with West Yorkshire Spinners self-striping Christmas colorway, and then their color Blueberry Bonbon, because this was the third pair of socks that I had made from those two balls of wool, and I didn't quite have enough for either of them to be the main color. I added a few stitches of rib onto either side of the heel going up the leg, because this is my second time making this pattern, and the first time I found out that the ankle stitches were really tight and I could barely get my foot through. So I thought that would be a good idea, and it works really well. I'll show you how much ease you get out of those stitches when you're pulling it off the sock blocker. So those are the socks. They felt like they took a really long time, and they did, but I'm really excited to give them to my dad. I think that he'll really enjoy wearing them, and he's coming over to the States in a few weeks, so I get to give them to him in person. I grew up in Scotland, and my parents live there, so I'm really excited to see my dad and give him these socks. My other dad can't come over because he is currently waiting on his green card application, so he's not able to come over to the States until that all goes through, and who knows when that will be. But yeah, I'm excited for one of my parents to come over and give him the pair of socks that I've been working on for ages, and the three of us will all have matching socks in those colorways. The second FO that I have to show you, I don't actually have here right now, but it is a Smitten, which is like a two-person mitten. One mitten, two cuffs, so that you can either hold your hands together or hold hands with another person. I actually made this because one of my friends sent me a picture of it on Instagram as a joke, and asked me if I would make her one, and I said in the moment, no. But then I was sitting in my room, and it was quite late, and we had a guest who was sleeping on the sofa in the living room, so I didn't want to like rustle around, and I was sitting right in front of this big ball of the Vantage Choice Lion brand acrylic yarn, and my friend who asked me for the Smitten is allergic to wool, so I thought I would just make it for her. So I doubled it up. I used a free pattern, which is by Julie Weisenberger, which was great, and I used 10, I think that they were 10mm needles. And it only took me 2 days to knit. It was really fast, it looks really great. I actually gave it to her this morning. I'll pop a picture of it in here. I thought that I was going to have to wait for the winter to give it to her because it had gotten so warm in Philadelphia over the past few weeks, but we've just had a big cold snap, and it was like -degrees below freezing. So I actually gave it to her today. So I'm really excited. She was really happy when I gave it to her because it was a big surprise. Oh, and when I handed it over, I said, oh, we should take some pictures together another time because I haven't shown this on my podcast yet. But I meant to say I haven't shown it on my Instagram because I haven't really told anybody that I know in person other than one friend and my boyfriend that I have a podcast yet. But luckily she didn't notice, and the secret is still safe. I think I'll tell people eventually. I'm just having fun having it be something that doesn't really cross over into my daily in-person life. I'm enjoying it just being a sort of secret. So she didn't even notice that I said podcast instead of Instagram, and she was really happy to receive it. And I love making something for somebody that really suits them. Like I think that it was nice that I could use my acrylic yarn for my friend who can't wear wool. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. It was really fun to make. And so those are my 2 FOs. I will now show you my works in progress. So if you've been watching my podcast for a few episodes, you will know that I have a few works in progress that are very long going. One of them I've been working on for 11 months on and off, and the other one I have been working on since the beginning of January. So I'll start by talking about one of them, which is the Burrow cardigan, sort of, by Fabel Knitwear. I say sort of because at this point I've changed so much about it that the only thing that it has in common with the Burrow cardigan is the stitch count for the bottom of the sleeves. Since I last spoke to you, I have ripped out the body of the Burrow cardigan. It's a little bit painful to say, and it was a little bit painful to do just because I've been working on this for so long, but I tried it on, and it fit the way that it's supposed to according to the pattern, but it didn't fit the way that I wanted it to. It had like 4 centimeters of negative ease, 4 centimeters of negative ease across the chest. And I think at the end of the day, my tastes have just changed a little bit in the past few months, and I don't really want to make garments that have negative ease at the moment. So I have been thinking about that as I was knitting the sleeves because I thought I had finished the body like a month or 2 ago. And I realized I just had to rip it out and start the body again. So I increased the stitch count to, well, my gauge is different from the pattern gauge, and now my stitch count is different from what they say in the pattern, so it's not like information that the designer owns. So I cast on 70 extra stitches, so now it has like 4 to 5 inches of positive ease. And first I frogged it using my ball winder, which actually went quite well. I'm making it with 1 strand of unspun roving Knitwear and 2 strands of mohair. So I was sort of dreading ripping it out, but it was actually fine. I just ripped it out into my ball winder. Because of the mohair, the Knitwear didn't break. I'll show you my ball of Here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like wound up together. And I have completed the ribbing. Here's my steek. Oh, the pattern also isn't steeked originally, so I've added a steek so I can work it in the round. I guess 1 step forward, 2 steps back on the Knitwear cardigan. I did finish the other sleeve, but I think it will still be a good few weeks before this one is finished. But when it is finished, it will be exactly what I want it to be, instead of something that I never wear or that makes me feel bad about myself. It's gonna be just perfect, I hope. So that's the story of the Burrow cardigan this week. My second work in progress that has been ongoing for many, many, many months. In fact, I cast it on when we moved into our last apartment, and now I'm still working on it as we move into the house that we just moved into. And that is the Scout Shawl. It's a design by Florence Spurling, and it's a combination of Intarsia and Fair Isle color work. So I'll hold it up for you, go section by section. Here is the beginning. And then here is the newest section. You can see that the decreases for this side have started. It's like it got a trapezoidal shape. So here it is. I've done about, I think I've done quite a lot since you last saw it. Maybe like a good amount this from here to here. So this has been a very challenging project. As I'm sure you just saw, it's huge. It's fingering weight, and I'm really proud of it. I think that it's beautiful. I definitely think that it's sort of an interesting, it's interesting to work on a project for so long, and just sort of the amount of life that happens while you're knitting away, because a lot has changed for me in the past year or so, and I almost can't believe that sort of I'm still the same person working on the same project. I'm excited to wear it. I still have about 120 out of 500 rows left to go, but it's getting thinner and thinner, so I think that it's only a couple more weeks of work. I've been doing about 7 rows a day on this, and that takes me like an hour and a half, depending on how focused I am. And 7 rows is one of these motifs from this chart. So for the past maybe week or so, I've done one of these motifs every day, and then I've just put it down and let myself work on another project. I'm sort of at that point with this where I just want it to be finished. I'm not losing steam, but it's been a long time. So after this, I've just got the end chart to do, and hopefully I can bring it to you next time finished. The Scout Shawl is a great design. It's challenging. It's more sort of a challenge of commitment for me as quite a slow knitter than it is challenging technically. I mean, it's got its tricky parts, but it's not really any. If you can purl color work, then you should be able, that's the hardest thing that's in it. So it's more just like, are you gonna stick with it? Especially if you're a slow knitter like me. The 7 rows takes me like an hour and a half, and in total there are 500-ish rows in the pattern. So just, I'm not gonna do the maths, but that's a lot of hours to be spending on a pattern. So yeah, a side effect of working on a pattern that's such a long-term thing is that recently I've been casting on a bunch of small things, just as palette cleansers to try and keep my mind occupied, or when I want something easy to knit on or something portable. So I will show you some of those now. The first one is in this little bag that I got from Nomadic Yarn on Etsy. It's got cats on it, a very cute little sock cube, and the yarn is also from Nomadic Yarns. And I think it's the colorway Green Thumb, and it's just it's not a vanilla sock, but I'm not using a pattern or anything. I'm doing a 3x1 rib. The base is a tweed base, and I've just done the heel flap and turn the heel. So I'm taking this one slow. For a while, when we were sort of in between moving, this was the project I kept at this house, so I would have something to work on while we were here, measuring, showing people around, doing whatever. And it's in this bag, so it's very portable. So I don't really have any aspirations about finishing this or making a point to do it. It'll be done when it's done, and I'm excited to have the pair of socks to wear. One of my other works in progress is also socks, and I finished one of them. I'm just putting it on the sock blocker so that you can see it. And it is the new pattern from Stone Knits, who I love her patterns, and it's the Radish socks. So here it is. My boyfriend helped pick out the colors. It was all yarn from Stash, and I think that they look great. I was originally a little bit worried about the low contrast of the leaves, but actually I think it's fine. And I love the color work at the toe. I'm quite low on this gray yarn, so I didn't use it at the toe. And I'm still not quite sure I'll have enough to finish the other sock. The brown is Twig, the color Twig, in a Merino Sport base from Sugar Plum Circus. The gray is Ernest Shaw on the fingering base from Neighborhood Fiber Co., which I think is now discontinued, and I don't know if they have it anymore. The green is a green that I end up using for loads of stuff, and it's Ivy sock from Malabrigo, and the reddish purple is the color Plump from Hedgehog Fibers, and that's in a single ply merino, but it's not like a high wear and tear part of the sock, and I just wanted to use Stash. So Radishes. I love this. I think it's so cute. I'll show you what I've got on the second one. It's not very much, just the ribbing. And this is how much of the gray I have left. So hopefully I can squeeze the rest of that color work out of this gray. If not, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't buy anymore because it's discontinued. I guess I can always just, I don't know, figure it out. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, I love these. They're so cute. Since the brown is a sport weight, it's quite thick, but I like that. There's a matching fingerless mitts pattern, and I'm quite tempted to make those, but who knows? Yeah, we'll see. My last work in progress, I cast on a few days ago, and I was unpacking. The story goes that I was unpacking all of my yarn and thinking about my oldest stash. So I started knitting seriously again at the very end of college, but I didn't own a lot of yarn then, and it wasn't really until I graduated that I started buying yarn and learning about it, And in the first few months after graduating college, I was buying quite a lot of yarn, but I didn't really know what I liked. And there's a couple of skeins left over from those days that haven't been used that I have no idea what to do with, because it's just not the sort of yarn that I would pick nowadays. And one of those skeins was, two of them actually, were Malabrigo Mecha. Mecha. One of them is in the color Arape, and one of them, this one is Luvias. So it's not in the, it's not skeined up, but here it is. It is I think it's like a worsted or an Aran weight, and it's single ply, and it feels kind of weird. It feels a little like wormy. I don't know. I'm not used to single ply yarns having this much like substance. It's very weird to me. I don't know why. And for some reason, maybe this sounds stupid, but it's just been really stressing me out. Having it sitting there, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know, I'm just like, I was feeling a bit guilty for having bought this really beautiful yarn and never using it. So I decided I would make a Musselburgh hat with it and have one as the outside and one as the inside, or vice versa, and use quite big needles because it's quite thick yarn. And then if I liked it, I would keep it, and if I didn't, I'm sure that there were loads of people who would want it. So that's what I started to do. And I finished one of the skeins. So here it is. I really like this color. I did a pinhole cast on. I followed Roxanne Richardson's tutorial. I just haven't woven the end in. It's a good size, especially considering it will be double layered. So it can be folded up at the brim, and it will be double layered so it won't seem as baggy. I also have a really small head, so it looks a bit big on me, but it's actually better because then I could give it away to someone who isn't tiny-headed like me. And I've been dabbling with the idea of keeping it purl side out. I just think that it's really beautiful this way. So I'm going to start this one from the top, and then probably do a 3-needle bind off. Keep it simple. And I think that that's gonna make a really nice, really warm hat. I've also been toying around with the idea of getting a pom-pom with, you know, those like snap pop pom-poms, with 2 bases. So I could put one of the bases on one side and the other on the other side, and then you could just put the pom-pom on the side that you're going to wear. I think that would be cute. I didn't skein this up because I had lost one of the pieces of my Swift in the move, but I just found it. So I can skein it up today or whenever, and then have that as my easygoing project. I love top-down hats, but I mostly just love doing the increases. So I'll definitely do the increases sometime soon, and then finish it whenever I finish it. So that's my last work in progress. Hope that you enjoyed seeing all of those. I just realized I never talked about what I'm wearing, so I will talk about that now. Okay, I scooched back quite a bit so that you would have a better shot of my jumper that I'm wearing right now. It is the Boho Wreath sweater by Boho Fiber Chic, I think. It was a test knit. It was my first test knit, but I failed the test knit because I had a lot going on. So I bought the pattern, I sent an email apologizing, and nevertheless, I really love this jumper. Here, I'll come up close so that you can see the embroidery. The pattern came with detailed instructions on how to do the embroidery. And I really like the way that mine came out. Oh, this is ivy again, like in my radish socks, the green, and the beige I think is a Rowan merino worsted superwash wool. The pink from the flowers I think is called Cerisa. No, I don't remember what the pink is called. Cerisa is a different Malabrigo color. This is a Malabrigo sock yarn that I have, oh, it's Archangel. It's called Archangel. And then there's a lighter green, which I think was dyed by a dyer called Woollen Boone. I'm not sure if they're still dyeing. I got it on a really deep sale at my local yarn shop a couple of years ago. So it's a basic yoke sweater with this like really cute embroidery. I really like it. It doesn't get a huge amount of wear because I don't know. I do like it. I don't know why I don't wear it that much. Maybe I'll wear it more this spring. Yeah, I just felt inspired to wear it today, so I did. And I don't have very much else to report on this jumper. The pattern has it be quite oversized. I made mine with quite a bit of negative ease, which I blocked it really thoroughly, so that it has quite a bit of drape and it's quite comfortable. Oh, and I added to the neckline to give it more of a roll. It had some of a roll originally, but I didn't think it looked that good. So I went back in and added it. And it has short row shaping in the back of the neck, which is nice. So that's what I'm wearing. I'm also wearing some knitted socks. Just like a Patton's Croy sock. And these get a lot of wear. They were the first pair of socks I ever made. I've been wearing exclusively hand knitted socks for the past couple of days because it's been so cold and I'm really enjoying it. So I will tell you about my acquisitions from the past month. And to do that, I need to explain the reasoning behind it. If you've seen my previous podcast, you might recognize this hat. It's also a Musselburgh hat in an orange and a mohair. I ran out of the neon orange and then the hat was just too short, so I decided, even though I might have said last time I wasn't going to buy yarn so I could finish the hat, I did buy yarn to finish the hat. So I went online, I just googled neon orange sock yarn, and the yarn shop Twisted came up in Google search. I've actually bought something from there before. I think it was the 52 weeks of shawls that I bought from there. So they have sock minis by a dyer called The Knitted Wit, and it's like a 20-gram sock mini, and they have a bunch of colors, a lot of neons, very exciting. There were a number of orange options. I picked the color habanero, and then because you know that thing where you just like don't want to just buy one thing. So I also got another color, which was Fighting Iris. And those colors are these. One of them I wound up into a ball because I swatched with it. So I realized that this was just not the right color. I made a swatch of the mohair and this, here's the mohair, I just tucked it in. And it's just not, it doesn't match at all. So I went back to the Twisted E shop and I bought more knitted width sock minis. And here they are. I also got another purple. I really liked them, and I find the sock, purple is not a color I buy that often, and I often do want it, so I thought getting some sock minis would be good. So here's the second orange that I got. Compare it to the first one, and then compare it to the hat. I think that it will work. I think it's gonna be perfect. I've already put my needle in. Oh, here, I can show you it compared to the yarn that I used. So those two are very close. I don't think that there's gonna be much of a difference. Yeah, I threaded the needle in. I'm just gonna cut out under the brim, not brim, the increases, and then I'll just Kitchener the two sides together. So that will give it a bit of extra length, make it more comfortable and usable, and I think it's gonna be good. I'll probably just use the whole 20-gram mini. Yeah, so that's the plan for this, and the explanation behind these sock minis that I purchased. My other purchase of the past month or so is some Knitwear yarn from their March collection. I bought the color Untitled. How's my pronunciation? Here is I got 300 grams of this. They say 300 grams for a single strand garment, which I tried and it just wasn't really feasible with the blue color that I had purchased previously. They say 500 grams for a 2-ply garment. But I didn't really want to get 500 grams. That just seemed like a lot. So I got the 300. I really like the color. I think it's a beautiful warm brown with some pink. It's sort of brown and pink. And I really like it. I mean, it arrived, very happy with it. I have some ideas of what I'm gonna make with it, but I don't really want to start until I've finished one of my 2 big projects. But I can tell you about what I'm planning on making, which is using the green Knitwear that I bought a couple months ago. It's dark green. It's here. Can you see this? And then also using the 2 samples that they sent me, one with the dark green order and one with the brown, this color. So I'll show you the 3 of these together. And then there's also, I guess, a strand of the green in there. So I think like quite a traditional color work yoke with those 3 colors would be quite nice. I'm dreaming about it. And that's what I'm going to use that for, I think. Before I go, I'll tell you about my hopes and dreams, my goals before my next podcast. To try and keep myself a bit accountable, work on the things that I really want to finish. So I would love to get close to finishing my Scout shawl. I think that I'm just going to be so happy when it's done and I get to wear it. And I would like to continue working on the body of the Burrow cardigan. I want to update you again in about 2 weeks because I think that that's a good amount of time. I think that 3 weeks is a bit long for me to go between episodes. So I'd love to do that. Don't really have any goals with the smaller projects because they'll just happen when they happen. I think that those pretty naturally get finished and new ones get cast on. So yeah, those are my goals. I'd love to cast on the Oniera cardigan that I've been talking about so much. Using this mohair, if you can see that. Yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed watching my podcast. Hopefully by next time this room will look a little bit, well, can't really see the room, but the room will hopefully look a bit different. Maybe I'll have a chair to sit in instead of sitting on the floor. And that'll be unpacked. Not that you, as a viewer, would really be impacted by that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a great week or two, and I will see you